He sat at the corner table, the one reserved for people whose very presence seemed to change the air in the room. His name was Alexander Grant, a billionaire CEO known across the country for his ruthless business strategies and relentless drive. His face had graced magazine covers, his company's logo lit up skyscrapers, and his words in boardrooms could move millions of dollars in an instant. Yet tonight, at a quiet high-end restaurant in the city, Alexander wanted something simple. He had slipped out of his corporate world for an evening alone, craving silence and a perfectly cooked steak. The waiter who approached him was not the kind of person Alexander usually noticed. Her name tag read Maya. She was young, mid-20s, African-American, with tired eyes that still carried a spark of dignity. Her uniform was neatly pressed, but her shoes were worn. She smiled politely, greeting him with the kind of warmth that didn't feel forced. But when she set down his glass of water, Alexander caught the faint tremor in her hand. She wasn't just serving him, she was carrying something heavy. Steak. Medium rare, Alexander said briskly, as if every word cost him time. Of course, sir, Maya replied softly, scribbling down the order. But as she walked away, her mind wasn't on the steak. It was on the folded note burning in her apron pocket. A note she had written during her break, unsure if she'd ever have the courage to deliver it. She didn't know if this powerful man would even glance at it, let alone care. But something in her heart urged her that tonight was the moment. When the food arrived, Maya set the plate before him with her usual practiced grace. But then, with a subtle motion, she slipped the folded paper beside his napkin. She whispered so quietly he almost didn't hear, "Please read this." And then she walked away before doubt could stop her. Alexander frowned, curiosity pricking his mind. He unfolded the paper, expecting perhaps a complaint, a desperate request for money, or even some misguided admiration. But as his eyes moved over the words, his entire world seemed to freeze. The note was short. Raw. Honest. Sir, you don't know me, but I know your company. I've seen it from the ground level because it swallowed my father's small business. He lost everything. He worked himself sick trying to provide for us, and last year, I buried him. My mother works double shifts now. I'm serving you tonight, but I'm not angry. I just want you to know that behind the deals you make, there are families like mine. We are real people, not numbers. Please, don't forget us. Alexander stared at the words, his fork suspended in midair. For the first time in years, he felt something crack inside him. He wasn't reading a quarterly report, or a competitor analysis, or a profit margin. He was reading pain, the kind of pain money couldn't erase. He looked up and saw Maya across the room, carrying a tray to another table, her shoulders squared with quiet resilience. A wave of guilt washed over him. He had built empires, crushed rivals, and celebrated victories, but how many fathers like hers had fallen along the way? How many daughters were working late shifts, slipping notes to strangers, because of decisions he had signed without a second thought? Alexander couldn't eat. He sat there, hearing echoes of boardroom conversations where struggling small businesses were brushed aside as inefficiencies or market corrections. He remembered the pride in his voice when he told his shareholders about record-breaking profits, never once imagining the broken families behind those numbers. When Maya returned to clear a table near him, Alexander called her over. She approached cautiously, bracing for anger or dismissal. Instead, she found him studying her with uncharacteristic softness. "Sit," he said quietly. She hesitated. "Sir, I'm working." "I insist," Alexander interrupted, his tone gentler this time. He gestured to the empty chair across from him. Nervously, Maya sat. She had nothing to lose, but her heart pounded. "Your father," Alexander began slowly. "What kind of business did he run?" "A hardware store," she said, her voice steady though her eyes shimmered. "Small. Family-owned. He gave credit to neighbors who couldn't pay right away. He believed in community. But when your chain opened down the street with prices he couldn't match, customers stopped coming. He tried to fight. But he couldn't compete with someone who had millions to spare." Alexander lowered his eyes. "I'm sorry. The words felt foreign on his tongue, but they carried weight. Maya shrugged, though her composure trembled. Sorry doesn't change the past. But maybe it can change the future. People like me, we're not looking for handouts. Just a fair chance to survive. For the rest of the evening, Alexander didn't touch his steak. He listened. Really listened. Maya spoke about her father's dedication, her mother's exhaustion, her own dreams deferred by endless shifts and unpaid bills. And as she spoke, Alexander felt layers of arrogance peel away. This wasn't a shareholder meeting. This was reality, and he had been blind to it. That night, Alexander didn't leave the restaurant the same man who walked in. The billionaire who once saw the world in profits and losses now carried a folded note in his pocket, a reminder of humanity written in the neat handwriting of a waitress who refused to stay invisible. In the weeks that followed, Alexander began making changes. Quietly at first. His company announced new programs to support small businesses, offering partnerships instead of elimination. He created scholarships for children of struggling families. And he returned to that restaurant more than once, always asking for Maya's section, always leaving tips that weren't just generous but life-changing. But more than money, he gave her something else, a voice. He asked her to join a new advisory board, where ordinary people could speak directly about how corporate decisions affected real lives. Maya was terrified at first, sitting at a table surrounded by powerful executives. But when she spoke, Alexander made sure everyone listened. Her note had not just stopped him cold. It had thawed something inside him that had been frozen for years. And as for Maya, she carried her father's memory with pride. She saw, in small but undeniable ways, that her words had sparked a ripple of change far bigger than she had imagined. Final message for viewers. This story reminds us that sometimes the most powerful voices come from the most unexpected places. A simple note, written with truth and courage, can touch even the hardest of hearts and inspire change where it seems impossible. If this story moved you, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. What would you have written if you had the chance to speak to someone powerful? And before you go, don't forget to support this channel. Be kind always. Hit the like button, subscribe for more inspiring stories, and share this video with someone who might need hope today. Remember, kindness costs nothing, but it can change everything.